let's say he gets 3,500 yards, around 20 touchdowns, let's say 6 interceptions, right? And then let's say the Browns at least get to the AFC Championship game. Does that one season plus everything he's done before, right? The near MVP season, 5,000 yards in 2020, the wild card comeback in 2019, the exceptional rookie year. I mean, if you look at it year for year, like his worst year is similar to like Baker's best year. So if you do all of that, right, and he accomplished something in Cleveland where he gets at least to the AFC Championship game, like Bernie did, is that enough to say he's better than Bernie? We got a lot to talk about, and one of the things that's been talked about a lot this offseason because of the moves at quarterback has been the legacy of quarterbacks. Now, I'm working on a video to show the upgrade of what the Browns' potential quarterback situation could be this year versus what their potential quarterback situation was coming into last year. And that will be a whole nother topic. But we're talking about legacy, right? Baker Mayfield's not in the legacy conversation. Well, somewhat in the legacy conversation. But when we talk about legacy, we're talking about a player who's beloved here for good reason. I'm not here to slander him, but I am here to have a conversation about the legacy of it. Bernie Kosar. And my question is, what would it take for DeShaun Watson to be more revered than Bernie Kosar? And to help me with that, I'm bringing in G. Bush to take the heat with me because I assume some people are going to be upset that I've even asked the question of what it would take. But I do think it's
bring
interesting.
Me in to share the smoke. You want to share the smoke with me?
No.
Let's go slander a legend.
We do this together. We do this together. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to sit here.
No. First of all, you mind about to get me before we even start that. Hey man, where are you going? You got somewhere to be today? Cause you got your third button down.
Oh,
you got your joints out. You got your chain out.
This ain't
and
even
you got
what I'm
extra.
wearing. See, this ain't
I'm
even
just
what I'm wearing
saying.
out. See, nah.
I mean, do you have some 360 in that top? Is your top? Do you got Murray's or 360 in your hair up top? You got like 3 to 4 waves. I see you ready to go today.
3 to 4 waves. Now take off that cap right now. All right, G. Bush. Since you want to talk about 3-4 waves, hold on. Take off that cap right now. No.
GB, you dirty for that, man. Take it off. Let me see your sides.
Nah, I feel like you talking about. I got my chest hair out. Talking about I got 3 or 4 waves. 3 or 4? Nah. For this conversation to continue, I'm gonna need you to take that cap off, brother. But unless that cap coming off, I guess we're gonna have to stick to the topics today.
All right, stick to the topic at hand, and then all right, we can keep it moving.
All right,
hey, man, show.
You know what I mean? This ain't the radio, brother. but nonetheless, this conversation is interesting, right? With Bernie Kosar and DeShaun Watson. Now, the reason I bring this up is I think it's unfair to compare the raw numbers there because obviously Bernie played in a much different era where running backs were more emphasized. So if you look at his 4-year peak, right, we talking about 1986 to about 1989. So the 86 season, he played the full season, was about top 5? Where was he in passing yards? Yeah, top 5. He was 4th next to Boomer Esiason. 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, which does not blow minds today at all, right? That's like a pretty, Jacoby Brissett had a season with that kind of touchdown interception ratio, but we're not saying that Jacoby Brissett is equal to Bernie Kosar at all. 12-4 record though.
I think they might have had 2 backs that get 1,000 yards during that era, right?
Yeah. That's why the touchdown numbers are so low for Bernie Kosar, and then when they would need to throw to get a score, and that's probably why the interception total. But one thing to keep of note here is that his interception percentages have consistently been high throughout that era. So he was a fairly turnover-prone quarterback, got a lot of yards. There are some similarities to how it would be like if Baker Mayfield were Baker Mayfield in 2020 for like 4 years straight. That's what Bernie kind of was on the level of in his era, which is just vastly different here. But then you look at what Watson's already done, right? I've already made the statement that the second DeShaun Watson takes one snap in Cleveland, he's the best quarterback that this team has ever had since 1999, right? Since we want to throw that one out there, the second he takes one snap, automatically, based off of what he's already done in the NFL, I don't think anybody's going to fight me on. Well, there are going to be people who are going to fight me on that, but I don't know how you can make a real argument.
If we're going to just go ahead and get the hate all the way together and get your dislikes together, we might as well just go all the way back to the 60s. I like Otto Graham. He's a great guy. I haven't really seen Otto Graham play, but I would, if I had to play a game, I would take DeShaun Watson over Otto Graham.
Keep it a buck. Has anybody ever seen Otto Graham play football? I mean, like, where are these, like, everybody's like, oh, you can't forget about the GOAT Otto Graham. And it's like when dudes be talking about, it'd be like before Jerry West. So when they be talking about, what's the dude who played point guard for, like, the Celtics? Like, McAdoo.
About
Bob Cousy. Yeah, it's like when dudes start talking about Bob Cousy, but they my age. It's like, why are you standing people you've never watched play basketball? To me, prehistoric football before the merger, I don't know how to handle that, right? If we wanted to add in prehistoric football, the Browns are technically have as much championships as the Steelers, but nobody talks about it like that because it's prehistoric. Like, it just doesn't count. Well, it counts, but it doesn't.
I go to the 60s, and I just say 60s just because Jim Brown played. Some of the guys the Browns were good, but really, I really don't start ranking nobody and putting guys into the 70s. And to be honest with you, bro, you always have an affinity for the people that you saw play. Like, I know Mean Joe Green was good, but how good, right? I know that those guys were good, and Alan Page was awesome. But I like my guys. I like LT, Lawrence Taylor. But we digress. I think DeShaun Watson is probably skill for skill, pound for pound, what he's able to do with the football, throw and run and all that. I think he's the most talented guy that the Browns have had at that position.
If he had another 4,000, well, it's going to be hard. Let's say he gets 4,000 yards. Well, that'd be incredible if he had like a 6-game suspension, got 4. Let's say he gets 3,500 yards, around 20 touchdowns, let's say 6 interceptions, right? And then let's say the Browns at least get to the AFC Championship game. Does that one season, plus everything he's done before, right? The near MVP season, 5,000 yards in 2020, the wild card comeback in 2019, the exceptional rookie year. I mean, if you look at it year for year, like his worst year is similar to like Baker's best year. So if you do all of that, right, and he accomplished something in Cleveland where he gets at least to the AFC Championship game, like Bernie did, is that enough to say he's better than Bernie? Like, is that enough to say he's better than Bernie and people will roll with it? I know that you can say it, but will the city roll with it? Like, what would it take for people to go, DeShaun Watson is the best quarterback in franchise history? Outside of just, because we know winning the Super Bowl, obviously, or getting to the Super Bowl, obviously, that will do it because nobody has ever reached that preferences in franchise history. But outside of that, what is it he can do from a football standpoint that would make that a majority opinion? Because I feel like it's not even close right now.
Look, here's what you would need to do. So this year, if he came out and did what you said right there, that puts him really close right now. That gets him automatically over Baker Mayfield, because if you look at it, that means this dude would have came in and hadn't played in a year and a half.
True.
And still put up ridiculous numbers and got to the AFC Championship in his first year playing. So that would be kind of dope. But then the next year, if he come back to next year and he put up that almost 5,000 yards he had was ridiculous, because he had, I don't know how many rushing yards he had, but he had a lot of rushing yards there too. If he could come back and put up 4,500 and maybe 500, and the Browns looking like something like 13-4, they get a first round bye. And if they smoke these two teams, if they sweep the Ravens and the Steelers, he already got it to me. Because watch this. That mean, even though the Steelers got a quarterback with Trubisky, and they'll probably end up playing the young kid too.
They have a roster spot but if he's quarterback.
Yeah, if they smoke them, if they go there and they smoke them twice, And then they beat the Ravens with Lamar Jackson twice, and it ain't even looking like it's a game. Oh yeah, he's already got it. All they got to do is make it to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. And for me, if he gets to the Super Bowl, it's really not much I can say. He got your team to the Super Bowl, and like I said, all I want to see is the jerseys there. All I want to see is the jersey. Now, if I get there, of course we're gonna renege and plea bargain and say no. We need to get back. We need to win if we're gonna get there. But just getting there, I don't even know how that would feel.
That would put the Browns in a different era than what they've ever been. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he gets his Super Bowl. I know I will, by the way. I will be live. Okay. I don't know about you. You're
too much a fan, but I don't know about you, but I will be going live.
These lights need to stay on. You know what I mean? And they need to be bright and hot. Yeah, I need to throw some green at that. So I will be live. Don't worry. Don't worry, y'all. If the Browns get the Super Bowl, you will be able to get in contact with me. It will not be hard.
You're gonna have that whole week, them festivities in Quincy. Quincy gonna have Q&A. He gonna have chalkboard talk. He might fly somebody down and just do a show with him in the studio.
I'm gonna get one of them rigs where y'all can just walk around downtown, get some food, and just be live at the same time. Like, it will happen. Right. Don't worry. I'll have battery packs. It will happen one way or the other. But yeah, it's an interesting thought here, right? Because if we're looking at just what each player has done, right? I know there's a conversation of what they have done in Cleveland that would make him a better quarterback for the Browns, but I don't know how you factor in what he's already done, because what he's already done, he's done more than Baker Mayfield, right? Has had better statistical seasons, has won a playoff game, came from behind to win that playoff game, scored the game-winning touchdown. Well, not the game-winning touchdown, but the game-clutching play. Like, he's more accomplished already than Baker Mayfield, and that's why the Browns made that move. So that's why I'm saying, like, if he takes a snap, he's technically better just because he's already done more. And he's in his prime. Like, this is different than when they got like Trent Dilfer, where like Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl technically, but Trent Dilfer wasn't the reason they won it. He wasn't an MVP candidate ever in his life, or like even a David Carr, he was out of his prime by time, or all these other guys that they've gotten out of their prime. Jeff Garcia was just terrible, but it puts that over that. But I do understand where people are going to want to see him do it in a Browns uniform, because, man, we've been disappointed in the past by some of our free agents, some of our signings. And just off the cuff here, because he's really a free agent acquisition if you think about it, right? Because he chose to be here. Where does he rank in all of the free agent acquisitions in Cleveland history? Like, just Cleveland sports history. Where does he rank up there? Is he just second behind LeBron as far as the stature of the player and the difference of the signing?
I'm trying to think. Baseball, the Guardians / Indians, they've
never signed.
They haven't signed nobody like that big, like crazy. Yeah. In terms of accomplishment, in terms of status, buzz, just skill set, he's probably the highest. He's probably highest. I would think as a free agent. I know Kevin Love on the free agent. He was a trade. Kevin Love was pretty big for the organization.
The difference though with Kevin Love though was that Kevin Love was just traded for. DeShaun Watson had options, and he chose to, like, he was they're both traded for, but Kevin Love was going to go wherever he was traded. It was either going to be Golden State or Cleveland at that time, right? It was either going to be Klay Thompson. They were going to give that up to send him to Golden State, or it was going to be Cleveland. Yeah. But the trade for Watson wasn't necessarily the same situation where it was Watson had the no trade clause. He chose Cleveland over
did he really,
the other.
And I haven't even talked to you about it. Did he really choose? Because that contract chose for him. It was almost like, oh, hold on. So
here's why I say he absolutely chose, right? And y'all know I'm not like, here's where I'll say, because he could have gotten that same offer from the Falcons. I don't know if he gets that same offer from Carolina, but he could have definitely gotten that offer from the Falcons. The Falcons were mad that they couldn't give him that offer. So the fact that he didn't reach out to Atlanta to say, hey, this is what Cleveland's doing. How about you jump on top of this and give me that money? Because again, Arthur Blank was upset he couldn't give that contract out, that he had no notice of it. He wasn't mad that the contract got out. So yeah, did the Browns up the ante and make it sweeter with the money? Absolutely. But if he felt like he could have got the money, or if he felt like he didn't even want to ask Atlanta if he could get the money, that tells me that his decision to Cleveland was, this is the best choice for me. And now they're giving me the money I want. Okay, bye Atlanta. I'm gone. Like, I'm going to Cleveland.
Yeah, because he was already interested in Cleveland, and I think what really pushed him over the top is I think he really likes Kevin Stefanski, and I think what Kevin Stefanski told him and showed him what he thought that the offense could be with him really helped him, and then plus two, I think the greatest thing is the roster. When you just take a look at the roster, man, it's like he probably looked at the offensive line and just the running backs alone and Amari Cooper. So he's like, you just got Amari Cooper and you got all these. Yeah, I'm going to sign up for that. Because, I mean, let's be real. He put all them crazy numbers up with the Texans after DeAndre Hopkins was gone. Like, they got rid of his best target and was like, okay, well, he's still going to put up almost 5,000 yards. So, yeah, I think he did show up based on the roster and based on the overall package. And just, I mean, if you look at it, the Browns were the best fit, and I don't know how many times we could say that in our lives. Just the same way LeBron came back the first time, the Cavs were a better fit. They had Kyrie, they had draft picks, they had Wiggins, they had capital, move people around, and some cap space. He's like, I'm gonna go back over there.
Here's how good of an option Cleveland was to him. To people who did doubt this, he had the choice of going to his actual home in Atlanta, his second home in Carolina. Remember, he played at Clemson. Clemson's in South Carolina. It's a built-in fan base. I mean, he is God out there in Carolina. He had those two choices, and he chose to come to Cleveland, where the only thing people know about him in Cleveland is that he beat the tar out of Ohio State every time he saw him, right? Like, it's not a built-in fan base here. He chose Cleveland over those sentimental favorites. I thought he was going to go to Atlanta. It made the most sense to me as far as on the human end of it, but he chose Cleveland for the football reasons. But that's the quarterback situation